Ladies and gentlemen, this is Convicted, and I'm your host, Kelv Chung. For first time viewers, Convicted is about inviting ex criminals onto the show to talk about how they have turned their lives around. Today, we have a very special guest, Atharv Vallari.
Nice to meet you again, man.
Nice to meet you again, too. You look good, man. How long has it been?
Since we last met, I think 35 years.
Wow, 35 years?
Yeah, I can't believe it myself.
So, welcome to the show. Can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and what you're convicted for?
Oh, yeah, of course. So my name's Atharv Valluri. I was convicted of first-degree murder when I was 27 years old. I was given a 30-year sentence, but later it got reduced to 20 years.
What led you to this?
Wow, straight to it. So basically, I found out my wife was having an affair. I was overcome with anger and felt a lot of hatred towards the man she was having an affair with. So I ended up killing that man out of anger.
Wow, it's crazy what hatred can lead us to.
Yeah, it is.
So, how did you take back control of your life?
So, when I was in prison, I was in a dark place and I needed a sense of guidance. That's when I found God. I started reading the Bible and integrate its teachings into my life.
Amen. Which teachings do you feel impacted you the most?
I would say Jesus' teachings on the Sermon on the Mount.
The one in Matthew's Gospel?
Yeah.
Which teachings do you think resonated with you the most?
I would say the Beatitudes.
Why is that?
The Beatitudes are basically about blessings. In the sermon, Jesus starts the sermon by blessing those who are meek, the just, those with humility, and so on.
Can you be more specific?
Jesus says, "Blessed are those who are poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be filled. Blessed are those who are merciful, for they shall obtain mercy." These are only few of the Beatitudes.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm blessed to be in the position I am today. God showed me mercy through his blessings when I didn't deserve it.
That is inspiring to so many people. Are there any other teachings that resonate with you?
Many of the sermons, they concern things like anger, adultery and divorce, retaliation, love for enemies, judging others, hearers and doers, so on.
Wow, that is a lot. But let's dive deeper into why. Let's talk about anger. Here's some context for the audience. In the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus teaches that you will be judged by God if you have hatred towards your fellow brothers and sisters. When Jesus is talking about brothers and sisters, he's referring to all mankind. He also emphasizes that it's a priority to reconcile with those who you carried anger to. So how does this teaching resonate with you?
Well, it's anger and hatred that drove me to commit murder. When Jesus taught us to not hold anger in our heart, I didn't listen. But I tried to reconcile with the man's family members once I got out of prison.
Just like Jesus said?
Yeah, exactly.
In the Sermon of Adultery and Divorce, it speaks about how if a part of your body causes you to sin, tear that body part out and throw it away. This verse is very powerful because you sinned by murdering someone, but you got rid of the old you and started fresh with God. I can see how adultery and divorce resonates with you. Your ex-wife committed adultery, and that's why you are no longer together.
That's right.
Now, let's talk about what Jesus said about retaliation. We can all take notes from the sermon about retaliation because in the sermon it says, if somebody hits you or takes something of yours, do not retaliate back, but instead give to those in need and do not refuse anyone who wants to borrow something from you. Retaliation is a big problem for a lot of people. What specifically about it resonates with you?
Retaliating is what got me into this mess. Me committing murder was an act of retaliation. Looking back at it, there were many better ways to handle the situation. In fact, Jesus does say in the Sermon on the Mount not to resist an evildoer.
Another question I have for you is, how have you learned to love your enemies? Because like it states in the sermon, you shall love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, and yours will be the kingdom of heaven. Basically, Jesus is telling us to be the bigger man. How has just this challenged you?
My first year in prison, it was very rough. I was angry with the position I put myself in. I started to hate the men, my wife, the judicial system, and I started to blame them. But I realized that the hate I was carrying was weighing me down as a person. So I decided to let go of all that hatred and start to learn to love.
That advice can help others to follow the same path you took after prison. Moving on. In the sermon about judging others, Matthew writes that, "Do not judge, so that you may not be judged. For with the judgment you make, you will be judged. And the measure you give, you will be measured with." Why do you see the speck in your neighbor's eye but not notice the log in your own eye? Judging others is very common today, and I want to ask you, how do you put judging others to the side?
Well, since I left prison, people have been judging me for my criminal record without getting to know the person I was before and the person I've become now. And they fail to recognize that I've turned my life around. Since I know what it feels like to be judged unfairly, I always avoid judging other people because it's unfair to them. I believe everyone should do the same.
That is some very good advice for our viewers. And for our final sermon of the day, just like it says in the sermon for hearers and doers, everyone then who hears these words of mine and acts on them will be like the wise man who built his house on rock. And everyone who hears these words of mine and does not act on them will be like the foolish man who built his house on the sand. What does this mean to you?
Basically, Jesus is saying that it's not enough for us to only listen to his teachings, but we must also follow them as well. If we listen to his teachings but we don't follow them, it does not do any good. I try and live by this by understanding what Jesus was trying to say and following it to the best of my ability.
Well, that sums it up. It's been great chatting with you, Atharv. Hope we can see each other again sometime soon.
Yeah, maybe less than 35 years this time. Alright.
Ladies and gentlemen, Atharv Valerie. Well, that is a wrap on Convicted. It's been great hearing about all the different stories so far the episodes, but it has officially come to an end now. Good night, everyone.